Swamp's secret was way worse than we thought. The humidity hit me like a wall the second I stepped out of the bus. Bayou Creek still smelled the same, a mix of stagnant water, decaying leaves, and something vaguely floral trying its best to mask the rot. 8 years. 8 years since I swore I'd never come back. The hand-delivered letter from Jezekiah Parker, though, it didn't give me a choice. He's back, Mark. You need to come home. Jezekiah hadn't been wrong about many things in his life, especially when it came to the swamp. The town was worse than I remembered. Buildings boarded up, paint peeling, a general air of neglect hanging over everything. Even the welcome sign looked like it was about to fall apart, half the letters missing. I walked towards the only diner still open, the Gator's Mouth. It was run by Agnes, bless her soul, probably the only person in this town who hadn't given up. Mark Landry, is that you? Agnes's voice was as warm as her coffee. She hadn't changed a bit, her apron still stained with something unidentifiable. Hey, Agnes, good to see you. Good to see you too, boy. What brings you back to this paradise? She chuckled, but there was a weariness in her eyes. Family business, I said, which wasn't entirely a lie, heard from Jezekiah. Agnes's face clouded over. That old coot, still spouting his swamp tales, is he? I nodded. He seemed concerned. Concerned is Jezekiah's default setting, a voice said from behind me. I turned to see Chloe Davis, my childhood friend, sliding into the booth. She looked good, even better than I remembered, the years having traded a youthful smile for lines of wisdom around her eyes. Mark, wow, you actually came back. Chloe gave me a hug that squeezed the breath out of me. What's up with Jez? He sent me a letter, said things were happening again. Chloe's expression turned serious. Things have been weird, Mark. Real weird. She glanced around the diner, lowering her voice. Little Timmy Johnson went missing last week. Playing near the swamp, they say. Timmy Johnson, he was 8 years old. The same age my brother Ben was when he vanished. The swamp, I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Yeah, just gone, like he walked into thin air. They searched for days, but nothing. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. Anything else? Chloe hesitated. People are saying things. Old stories are coming back about the swamp being hungry, about sacrifices. Superstition, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Maybe, but Anna's taking it seriously. Anna Reed, deputy sheriff, another familiar face. She think it's connected to the old cases. Chloe nodded. She won't say it out loud, but I can tell. She's been spending a lot of time out by the old Parker place. The Parker place. Jezekiah's ramshackle house, bordering the deepest, darkest part of the swamp. I took a long swig of my coffee, the bitter taste doing little to calm my racing heart. I found Anna at the edge of the swamp, her patrol car parked haphazardly on the muddy shoulder of the road. She was staring out at the water, her expression unreadable. Anna, I said, approaching cautiously. She turned, her eyes narrowed. Landry, what are you doing here? Heard about Timmy Johnson. Figured I could help. Anna scoffed. Help? You haven't been back here in years. What makes you think you can help now? I know this swamp, Anna, better than anyone, which was true in a way. The swamp had been my playground, my sanctuary, and ultimately the place where my childhood ended. This isn't some game, Mark. This is serious. A child is missing. I know that's why I'm here. What have you found? Anna hesitated, then sighed. Not much. Tracks leading to the water's edge. No sign of Timmy. Just an unsettling feeling. Unsettling how? Like something's watching us, something ancient. She shivered despite the humid air. Jezekiah contacted me, I said. He thinks it's back. Anna rolled her eyes. Jezekiah, always with his ghost stories. He knew my brother, Anna. He was there when Ben disappeared. Her face softened slightly. I know, Mark, I'm sorry, but we can't base our investigation on old wives' tales. Maybe not. But we can't ignore them either. This town, this swamp, it has a history, Anna, a dark history, and it's repeating itself. She looked out at the swamp again, her brow furrowed. All right, Landry, tell me what you know. Jezekiah's house was even more dilapidated than I remembered. The porch sagged precariously, and the windows were boarded up. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and decay. He opened the door before I even knocked, his eyes like chips of flint in his weathered face. You came, he said, his voice raspy. I got your letter, Jezekiah. What's going on? He gestured for me to come inside. The interior was dark and cluttered, filled with strange artifacts, dusty books, and the pungent odor of swamp herbs. He's awake, Mark. The one they call the Devourer, the Devourer. You mean the old stories are true? Jezekiah nodded. They always are. This swamp, it's a living thing, Mark, and it feeds on fear, on despair, on innocence. Ben, I whispered. He was taken, Mark, taken by the Devourer, just like Timmy Johnson and others before them. How do we stop it? Jezekiah shook his head. You can't stop it, Mark. You can only appease it. For time, appease it. By sacrificing more children. There are ways, old ways, but they are dangerous and they require a sacrifice of your own. He led me to a back room where a single candle flickered, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. In the center of the room was a crude altar made of mud and branches. On the altar lay a small, intricately carved wooden doll. This is a voodoo doll, Jezekiah said, linked to the Devourer. We can use it to weaken him, to control him. Control him. How? By performing a ritual, an ancient ritual, but it requires a blood sacrifice from someone connected to the swamp, someone like you. The thought of spilling blood of performing some dark ritual filled me with revulsion. But the image of Timmy Johnson's face of my brother Ben flashed through my mind. What kind of sacrifice? I asked, my voice trembling. Jezekiah's eyes were filled with a deep sadness. A part of yourself, Mark. A part of your soul. You must offer it to the swamp, in exchange for the children's lives. Anna didn't believe it, not at first. But the more we investigated, the more the evidence pointed to something unnatural. We found strange symbols carved into trees near the swamp, symbols that matched those in Jezekiah's old books. We interviewed locals who spoke of whispers in the wind, of shadowy figures lurking in the fog. Chloe helped too, digging through old town records, uncovering stories of disappearances that had been buried for decades. She found accounts of a cult that had worshipped the swamp, offering sacrifices to appease its hunger. They called it the cult of the Devourer, she said, her voice shaking. They believed the swamp was a god, a living entity that demanded tribute. And what happened to the cult? I asked. They vanished. About 50 years ago. No one knows what happened to them, but the disappearances stopped for a while. The pieces were falling into place, forming a horrifying picture. The disappearances, the cult, the Devourer, it was all connected. But Dr. Worthington, he was the last piece of the puzzle. Chloe found his name in the old town records linked to the cult of the Devourer. He was the town doctor, respected and trusted by everyone. But beneath his friendly facade, he was hiding a dark secret. We confronted him at his office. He denied everything, of course. But when we showed him the symbols we found in the swamp, his eyes betrayed him. You can't stop it, he said, his voice suddenly cold and menacing. The Devourer is too powerful. It will consume you all. He lunged at us with a scalpel, but Anna tackled him to the ground. We restrained him, but his words echoed in my mind. It will consume you all. We knew we had to act fast. The Devourer was growing stronger and more children were at risk. We decided to follow Jezekiah's plan to perform the ritual and try to weaken it. We met at the old ritual site in the swamp, the same place where the cult of the Devourer had performed their sacrifices. The air was thick with an oppressive silence, broken only by the croaking of frogs and the rustling of leaves. Jezekiah had prepared everything. He had gathered the necessary herbs and ingredients, and he had drawn a circle on the ground with chalk. "Are you ready, Mark?" he asked. I took a deep breath. "I'm ready." We began the ritual. Jezekiah chanted in an ancient tongue, his voice rising and falling in a hypnotic rhythm. I held the voodoo doll in my hand, focusing my energy on it, trying to connect with the Devourer. The air grew colder and the shadows deepened. A low growl echoed through the swamp. I could feel the presence of the Devourer, a malevolent force that threatened to overwhelm me. "Now, Mark," Jezekiah said. "The sacrifice." I took the knife he offered me and hesitated. I had to cut myself to offer my blood to the swamp. It felt wrong, unnatural, but I knew I had to do it. I closed my eyes and made a deep cut on my arm. The blood flowed freely, dripping onto the ground. I cried out in pain, but I didn't stop. As the blood mingled with the earth, the ground began to tremble. The trees swayed violently and the wind howled. The Devourer was responding. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness. It was Dr. Worthington, his eyes glowing with an unholy light. He was followed by a group of cult members, their faces hidden behind masks. "You fools," Worthington screamed. "You can't control the Devourer, it will destroy you." The cult members attacked us, wielding knives and torches. Anna fought them off with her gun, while Chloe and Jezekiah continued the ritual. I battled Worthington, his strength enhanced by the Devourer's power. He was relentless, but I refused to give up. I had to protect my friends to save the children. Finally, I managed to disarm him and knock him to the ground. But as I stood over him, the ground began to crack open. A monstrous figure rose from the depths of the swamp. It was the Devourer, a towering mass of shadow and swamp gas. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent intelligence, and its mouth opened in a silent scream. It reached for me, its shadowy tendrils wrapping around my body. I felt my life force draining away, my soul being consumed. But then Jezekiah completed the ritual. He plunged the voodoo doll into the ground, severing the Devourer's connection to the swamp. The Devourer roared in agony and retreated back into the darkness. Worthington and the cult members collapsed, their power gone. I fell to the ground, weak and exhausted. But I was alive, and the Devourer was weakened. Anna and Chloe helped me up. We had done it. We had saved the town for now. The aftermath was a blur. The rescued children were reunited with their families, their faces pale and drawn. Dr. Worthington and the surviving cult members were taken into custody. Jezekiah retreated back into his house, refusing to speak to anyone. He had done his part, and now he wanted to be left alone. Chloe stayed by my side, offering comfort and support. She was strong and resilient, and I knew I could count on her. Anna continued to investigate, trying to uncover the full extent of the cult of the Devourer's activities. She knew that the danger wasn't completely over. I stayed in Bayou Creek, helping the town rebuild. I knew that the swamp would always be a part of me, a dark and dangerous part. But I also knew that I couldn't run away from it. I had to face it to protect the town from future threats. One evening, I walked to the edge of the swamp and looked out at the dark water. The fog hung heavy in the air, and the trees loomed like silent sentinels. I knew that the devourer was still out there, lurking in the shadows. It was wounded but not defeated. It would return someday, but I would be ready. I would stand guard, protecting Bayou Creek from the darkness. I had made a sacrifice, a part of my soul, but I had also found a purpose. The swamp had taken much from me, but it had also given me something in return, a reason to fight, a reason to live, and a reason to never forget.